I'm really happy to be here with you guys today, tonight, I should say, this evening. I seem to be someone that, for whatever reason, Doug and Cheryl thought that I knew something about Zen. So I thought, I'm new to this, so my thinking is, and I'm totally open to how you might want to do it differently. I know this is sort of a book study of sorts, and you guys have this text and you read, hopefully, even if you didn't read, it's no big deal, but chapter 23 is in my beginner's mind. But I thought I would share a little bit about myself first and how I came to Zen, my own kind of personal journey to this, and then maybe kind of open it up to the group. You know, I've got some things underlined or highlighted that maybe would be of interest to discuss, but I really leave it to you, not just because of this particular chapter, but you've been doing this for how many weeks now? Quite a few.
6 months.
6 months, wow.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's so great. I'm so glad you guys have been involved in this class for so long. So I'm sure you have lots of things that have been percolating in you about Buddhism, and maybe now you're kind of thinking about the Zen that we're talking about now, and you're wondering how they relate, or how they alike, or how they're different, and is there a difference, right? So we can kind of just sort of riff off of your ideas and your questions, and kind of go back and forth with the book, and I'm happy to just, I don't have some big lesson plan. I used to be a high school teacher. You may find it hard to believe how disorganized I am at this moment. But that's because
you were a high school teacher.
That's right. I was also a theater high school teacher.
This is the actor.
Yes. I taught theater for over a decade, and us artsy teachers, right? We don't go with lesson plans. We just go in and feel the room, and feel the energy, and we kind of have a few rough ideas of where we want to go with things, and then we kind of we go with it and see where it takes us. So I'm not the most organized person, although I can force myself into it. But tonight I think we'll just kind of keep it loose. So, my own personal journey started back in, I guess, 2014, 2015, over 10 years ago. I had always been interested in Buddhism, going back to my early college days. Throughout most of my young adult life, I think I had always kind of coming in and out of it, sort of dabbled. Maybe you know this feeling. You dabble in it a little bit, and you can pull yourself away for a few years and kind of go, I should pick that book up again. That was a really good, I don't think I'm going to listen to this. And so I was that kind of person for a long time. I had come to EBS before we were located here. This is back when, even at the Carriage House, law firm. That's a long time ago. And then for a while, when they moved to Chester, but you guys may know Lucy Sauer, who is a Dharma teacher in the Quantum Zen tradition. Lucy has been long affiliated with EBS, going back to some of its early days, and she has continued to teach the quantum class for decades. But Lucy's also a friend of mine, and she would always say, hey, she said, come down to Quantum and come try it out. Come try Zen out. And I would kind of, okay, all right. And I'd kind of go, and yeah, that's cool. And I'd go for a week or two, and then I'd stop. And then I'd disappear. And then I'd run into Lucy somewhere, and I'm like, oh, Lucy, I need to come back and try it again. She goes, yeah, come on. Okay, I'm going to come. And I go for once or twice. So you get the idea. This was the trajectory of my Zen Buddhist path for 2 decades, maybe, or 15 years, whatever it was, until about 2015. And without getting into all the weeds about things, but I had a number of circumstances in my life that confluenced within a short time span. One of the most pivotal parts of this time span was my son at the time was 13 years old and was diagnosed with cancer. He was just starting his 8th grade year at Pulaski Heights, and quite suddenly had a pronounced lump on his neck, which I had dismissed as probably just, one of those things. One thing led to another, and another doctor appointment, and a biopsy, and he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in late 2014. So this really rocked my world. But there were other things too, relationship, and then there was a person in my life that was struggling with addiction, very serious addiction. She was very close to me. And all these things kind of confluenced together. But my son's cancer being obviously the most pronounced part of this whole crisis period. And I kind of hit a wall. You know, I thought I had things under control going into this period. Like, you know, right?
Yeah.
You got the job, you got the marriage, relationship, whatever, you got the kid, you're trying to fire on all these cylinders, and you're trying to control every variable that could send any part of this life of yours in a spinning in an off direction. But what happens is when you get a number of things that literally get thrown into it, and everything starts spinning off into the distance, and you start grasping and realizing, holy cow, my life is falling apart. This is terrible. My life is terrible right now. So that's when I got back with Lucy, and I was like, Lucy, I think I need to come back down to Quantum. I need to come and try Zen again. And she's so quiet, and she always says, come, yes, open arms, come. And I went, and I started going a few times. It didn't really I was getting it. I was going, okay, I don't know how I get it. It's not like there's something to get. But what I'm trying to say is there was something that clicked. And then one night, I was at home trying to practice my own practice, sitting on a cushion in this crappy studio apartment that I was forced to rent because of all these circumstances. My son was getting better. He was going through chemo and radiation and was towards remission. But nonetheless, I was sitting in this little studio apartment on a cushion, and in my position, I'm just breathing, just really trying. But the harder I tried, the more desperate I became, and the more suffering I experienced, until I just I'm not trying to be dramatic, but just sort of fell apart, just like it all came gushing out, everything. And then after that moment, I just sort of sat some more. I kind of got my composure, and I sat myself back up again and came back to my breath. And from that moment on, there was just something that I knew that I needed to keep doing that there was something about me witnessing myself in that moment which allowed me to sort of let go of a lot of stuff, of a lot of emotions and hurt and worry. And I knew that I just need to keep practicing. And so I started going back to Quantum every Tuesday night, which anybody's welcome to join us on Tuesday nights and join our Quantum Zen. If I say Quantum, I'll say more about this, but it's a Korean lineage of Zen. I say for short Quantum, but it's a Zen group. I just started going back every Tuesday night, and that was 2015, and I became very involved here at EPS, with Doug and Lorna. I joined the board and became very active and very dedicated to my practice, and eventually become a Dharma teacher in the Quantum Zen tradition. It was, I guess it's been a couple of years ago, and continue to practice. So, and I say all this, and I wrote a phrase down. Let me get it off my notes, because I didn't write much down, but I did write this phrase down. So I think for me, Zen came down to this: seeing things as they are. And I think that's what happened to me that night, to see things as they are. And I think that to me is sort of a central component of a Zen practice. That there's a great story, and I wish I could remember it. I'm going to butcher it. Doug, you may know the story about Milarepa, and I don't remember the exact story, but you'll get it once you realize I'm telling the story. Milarepa was a Buddhist monk teacher, probably about a month, around 1,000, 1,100, something like that. And he was going back to his cave, and when he went to his cave, it was filled with demons. It was filled with demons. And at first, he tried to chase the demons away. And the more he tried to chase the demons away, the less they left. The more they stayed, the more invigorated they became against him. And so he goes, okay, this is not going to work. I will teach them the Dharma. And he tries to sit the demons down and teach them about Four Noble Truths, emptiness, and impermanence. He's trying to teach them the Dharma. And it works a little bit. A few of the demons disappear. And then finally, and I don't remember the exact sequence of the story, but finally gets to the point where there's one demon left. It's the biggest of all the demons. He can't get this demon to leave. So finally, he says to the demon something like, I give myself to you. And he opens the demon's mouth wide open and he sticks his head in. At that moment, the demon bows and disappears. Right? So there's something seeing things as they are and sort of accepting things as they are. Right? Sort of this ability to, scratch the rest of the ability, that's not the right word. This experience of letting go of life's circumstances and the fact that we have control over any of it. And putting our head into the demon's mouth, so to speak, and just saying, I am yours. Right? Just, I am yours. Meaning to life in some way, I am yours. Do with me as you wish. I relinquish my control. And there's something in that moment, I guess, when that experience, and I'm sure we've all had tastes of this, right? This is nothing new to any of you. You've all been sort of at the end of the line sometimes with whatever struggle or crisis in your life, where you finally wave the white flag and you say, I give up, and I just give up. I can't control this person, this circumstance, this, whatever it is, outcome. I can't control any of it. So you just give up. And I think, to me, seeing things as they are, I think that's very central to anything that isn't, this chapter, which is a great chapter. If you haven't read it, if you didn't have time, please go read it, because the book that it comes from, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Shunryu Suzuki, who was of a Japanese lineage, Zen master, Zen teacher. And this is sort of like in the canon of Zen texts, is this, right? So if you're going to read anything about Zen, I would say this would be in your top 3 or something. Like, you should read this. It's a super easy read, too. So what's in the book that Chill and Doug use here is there's a chapter or an excerpt from this book. And to me, this is seeing things as they are. I think this is very much what he's trying to communicate. This experience, again, of putting down. I'll pause right there. I mean, there's more I can say about some of this, but I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your experiences, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you about any of this so far. Questions? Let's say yeah.
I think that for me it's interesting because in my experiences with like surrendering to the thing that is going to just be there anyway, it's mostly but more it's really in my face when I'm trying to think of a word. I can't think of the word. And I'm like, I just have to stop trying to think of the word, and then eventually it'll come to you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're wired, I think, evolutionary-wise, from an evolutionary standpoint, a social standpoint, to try and control our circumstances and to control things in our life. And of course, this is all an illusion. Right? It's all an illusion. That we have any control over things. And whether it's like finding the right word, oh, if I could just find that right word, it's, you know, I'm gonna keep trying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep trying until I find it, but the harder you try, the same thing like Milarepa did, you know, with the demons. The harder he tried to get rid of them, the more pronounced they became. So there's this, what feels sometimes as a counterintuitive motion that has to happen, where when we most want to grasp things, that's when we most need to let go of them. And it's very counterintuitive in the moment to us, because we get very wound up and excited and emotional, and we feel like we gotta. And I know this, man. I know you know this too. It's like I know this experience every day in various circumstances. I still want to grasp to things. So real quick, I don't know how much Zen came. Did you guys do any history of Zen or talk?
Not at all.
I'm not getting Zen
Only in
story.
passing. What they've heard is a whole lot of Theravada, which is a lot of practices and techniques and theories, and you have to pour this and find that. So they got a lot of that, and then they've heard some Mahayana things from Cheryl, about like Tonglen and the Great Compassion and the Six Paramitas. So, man, they've gotten a lot of theory. And I was thinking, well, Zen maybe have a little different perspective on some of this.
I love you're bringing me up here clean up in a way.
We need a lot of cleanup.
Oh, I love it. No, and I could learn so much from you guys about Theravada, and I know about Mahayana, but so Zen came out of India, traveled to China. Now, in China at this time, you had Taoism and other Confucianism, and other very organically grown sort of movements. I hesitate to use the word religion, practices within a very large area of China, right? This is huge. But something like Taoism, especially, very ingrained in Chinese culture at that time. And you had Buddhism, which came into China and then sort of blended with Taoism. And you end up having, the baby would be, I guess, that was a joke that was made in one class I took, that if Buddhism and Taoism had a baby, it would be Zen. And that's exactly kind of what came. And Taoism, if you know anything about Taoism, and I don't know much, but there's a very, it has a feel of Zen, and it's a very organic feeling. It's very earthy. It's not intellectual. That's maybe what I should say.
Right.
So we have within maybe Theravada Buddhism or Buddhism in general, a lot of, there's the this, the four that, and the 12 this, and the pyramid that, and there's this sutra, and there's that sutra, and then don't forget about this sutra, oh, this sutra, and you get like all these things, right, that you're supposed to kind of know, and you read, and there can be a lot of intellectualizing of Buddhism.
Right.
When it's not.
Theravada is the great sinner in that regard. A lot of Theravada is just absurdly scholastic.
Yes, very scholastic, academic almost to some degree. And I think Zen is the antidote for that, right? So, and that goes back to Taoism, I think, because it wasn't the religion of the intelligentsia, of the higher classes. It was of the millers and the silversmiths and the workers, the ones that got their hands dirty, right? It was sort of a very everyman's kind of, again, I don't want to use the word religion, but you get the idea.
Farmers.
There's no such thing as religion, really.
No, I know, that's why I'm kind of struggling with it, but I'm a little brain dead, but you kind of get going with it. So you have Zen, which is very much, again, I'm not finding the right word. It's very
Help me out.
Accessible?
accessible. Yes, it's very accessible to the common man, right?
And the other funny thing is, I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep right
No, please do.
But
Please do.
the sort of the joke, and I don't know if it's a Chinese joke, but about Zen and Confucianism is when you're successful and you've made your place in society, well, yeah, you're a Confucian, but if you've bottomed out, you're the ballast.
There you go. That's a great, I'm glad you threw that in there, yes. So from this sort of came this birth of Zen, which then eventually traveled from China to Japan, to Korea, to Vietnam, primarily the three kind of branches, geographical branches of Zen. So Suzuki Roshi from Zen Mind Beginner's Mind, this is Japanese Zen. I don't know a whole lot about Japanese Zen, so don't ask me a bunch of questions about it. Although it's not that different than Korean Zen, which is the lineage that the Kwanum group is Korean lineage Zen. And then you have Paul's group, Thursday's group, which is sort of the Vietnamese Thich Han branch of Zen, right? All three very closely related. I mean, for many people, you may not even make a lot of distinctions between it, but there are some. It's, mainly from the format of the practice has a different color or flavor to it. But ultimately, Zen is very much centered in meditation, right? That is the primary vehicle, I guess you could say, if you want to use that word. And in the chapter that was assigned here, Suzuki Roshi does a lot of talking about proper posture, proper breathing. And Japanese Zen especially uses Zazen meditation in that way to really, for one to really experience Zen, it is through sitting meditation, proper posture, right mind, right everything, right, all these things. In Kwanum, it's a little bit nuanced, and the lineage of Kwanum Zen, which came from Zen Master Song Sang, who was a Zen master in Korea that came to the United States in the early 1970s and established the first American school of Korean Zen in Providence, Rhode Island, which then eventually branched out across the country, then to Berkeley and then New York, and even the Kansas Zen Center, which is sort of our home Zen center for Kwanum because it's in Lawrence, Kansas. But Zen Master Song Sang established the Kwanum tradition, which is very much affiliated with Chogi Zen Buddhism, which is the predominant Korean Zen Buddhist lineage there. So Kwanum is basically the same thing as Chogi Buddhism, Chogi Zen Buddhism. But I say it's nuanced because for Zen Master Song Sang, it wasn't just about Zazen, as it is for Suzuki Roshi, primarily just sitting meditation. It was really about meditation is everything. So there's sitting meditation, but there's walking meditation. There's chanting meditation. There's eating meditation. There's washing the dishes meditation. There's driving your car meditation. There's taking a shower meditation. Literally everything becomes, everything becomes meditation. Everything has the ability to experience what Zen Master Song Sang would say, don't know mind. So this is sort of central to Kwanum or Chogi Zen Buddhism. And it's very, very closely aligned with Japanese Buddhism too. It's just different words, just described differently. But it's again, this idea of seeing things as they are. So don't know mind, as Zen Master Song Sang would use this phrase quite often with the students, is this idea that our original mind, our original face, is one of don't know. Think of a baby being born, coming out of its mother's, and then looking with its big eyes at the world. That is don't know mind. Everything that baby is seeing for the first time is completely new, fresh, untarnished, no opinions, no perspectives, no feelings, no emotions, no ideas. It's completely fresh. It takes everything in a very neutral, just equanimity. It's just like everything is just as it is, with no label. Oh, I call that a doctor, and I call that a baby incubator, or I call it, like, there's no knowledge of any of this. It's all fresh. There's no judgment. There's no label. So this is original mind, or original face, as you might call it. So the idea of Zen, from my perspective, again, obviously, I mean, the way I've learned and the way I think of this, so you take this as you want to. Whether we're talking Japanese Zen, or Vietnamese Zen, or Korean Zen, it is this attempt to come back to our original mind, our don't know mind, our fresh, neutral, unbiased mind. And whatever vehicle we choose, whether that's meditation, sitting meditation, chanting meditation, eating meditation, walking meditation, it is all to come back to our original mind, where we don't have perceptions, we don't have opinions, we don't have attitudes, we don't have beliefs. We don't label things as good and bad and right and wrong and this and that. Where everything is just as it is. Right? Just as it is. And there's no intellectualizing around that. Like, I'm trying to intellectualize it for you by talking about it. But a real Zen master would probably say, shut up. Stop talking. And breathe. And watch. Right, and we would sit here and we could do, Suzuki Rohi recommends, and sit in our posture, and we could do that if we wanted to. And sort of just watch our thoughts coming and going, without grasping at them, and tackling them, and wrestling them to the ground, and feeling like, I gotta make this thought good, right? I gotta stop thinking that, I gotta stop thinking this and not think that. Which this thought would get the hell out of here because it's getting in the way and I want to be thinking this. The more we do this, grasping, the more they proliferate, they get bigger. The demons, right? The demons. So meditation, Zazen, we come to slowly watch all of this nonsense that we create in our minds with a sense of equanimity and a sense of neutrality. And we don't judge it, we don't label it, we don't try and get rid of it, we just watch it. So think of it like clouds, right? When clouds appear, it seems like there's a big damn cloud. Oh my God, there's a big cloud. What do clouds do? They move away. And then, oh, there's another cloud. Ooh. You don't grasp at a cloud and try and wrap your arms around it just because it's a cloudy day or whatever, and try and, or shout at the cloud or cuss the cloud out. You know that clouds come and go. Even behind me right now, I see some small clouds that are just moving across the sky. What's behind the clouds? Clear sky. That's your original mind. That's your original mind. What obscures your original mind? Thoughts, opinions, perceptions, ideas, beliefs, all of this stuff. These are your clouds. These are our clouds. So what we do in Zazen and in any kind of meditation practice is we're just watching this stuff appear and disappear, going, okay. Okay. Seeing things as they are. Which are and those things that are impermanent. The clouds, these thoughts that are racing through our mind 100 miles an hour sometimes, are impermanent. They don't actually have any form. They're not real. So what we do in Zen is we create, this experience, hopefully over time and practice. And doesn't matter how many years you've been practicing, you're still always doing cloud, still grasping a cloud. But we're just practicing this idea of watching, right? And just holding, not even holding, that's not the word I should use. You don't want to hold anything. You're not holding any of these clouds. You're just watching.
Allow.
Yeah.
Allow.
Yeah, allow, yeah.
It sounds a lot like mindfulness, like in terms
Yeah.
of it being, dishwashing. It's everything.
Yeah.
Sounds more like what I think of as mindfulness, trying to be aware of what's going on. Right now I'm sitting and I have my feet on the floor. That's, where I can feel the pressure. It sounds more like what I think of as mindfulness through everything, as opposed to when I sit down and meditate. So, and I'm saying that as a difference between what you said at first. I don't remember which, the Japanese meditation was on the cushion, and then your kind of Zen is everywhere. I've forgotten the names, I'm sorry. But,
No, you're fine.
but it strikes me as more like mindfulness.
Mindfulness,
What I
yes.
think of as mindfulness.
Yes. So mindfulness, I think, is a Western construction of trying to frame it in a way, Zen in a way that Westerners can kind of grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Thich Nhat Hanh was the first one to kind of coin this. Maybe one of you guys know. If you guys know Thich Nhat Hanh, very famous Vietnamese Buddhist monk, passed away several years ago. Very, very influential in bringing Zen, especially Vietnamese Zen, to the West. And I believe, don't quote me on this, coined this idea of mindfulness.
So
He wrote a book called Mindfulness, actually,
Okay.
but I can't say if he was the first to coin it. I believe he was. But it was his way, I think, of trying to introduce this concept of Zen to an American, especially Western or primarily American audience, that they could understand. Because it can be very esoteric feeling, even as I'm talking about it. It's sort of like, it's very squishy. Like, oh, what does that mean? But this idea of being mindful is, I think, is pointing to this idea of Zen. I would probably say that.
it's like the kindergarten version of Zen.
Well, yeah, I don't think we have to label it.
Right.
Let's not label it as that. But I think when I think of probably most mindfulness teachers or courses, the focus is more on being in the present moment.
Right.
But I think that for me, Zen is more than just that. It isn't, there's an element that, yes, being in the present moment. And also mindfulness has become equated as, my problem sometimes with the mindfulness movement, it is trying to align itself with this idea that mindfulness leads to good things.
Right.
If I'm mindful, my life becomes peaceful.
Right.
It becomes
Manufactured
serene.
calmness, yeah.
Yeah, I can let go of my worries. I'm mindful. Look how mindful I am.
No, I'm just mindful of the pain in the bottom of my foot. Not
Right.
like it's not going to get better.
Right. For me, it's much more than just good feelings,
Yeah.
which is what I think the mindfulness movement sometimes, not all times, but for some parts of it, try and sell this idea that, oh, you're having stress and you're having, this, you need to be more mindful. Like that's going to cure something for you. When really, to me, at the core of Zen is an acceptance. Remember, equanimity, good and bad, right? Pain, suffering, the whole kit and caboodle. Seeing things as they are. And sometimes we see some pretty crappy stuff and pretty shitty things happen in our lives. And so then it becomes, mindfulness isn't trying to get rid of those things. That's not the idea. The idea is, how do I accept what is? Good and bad, however I want to label these things. And to watch, again, the clouds come and go, come and go. And those clouds can bring lots of heavy rain sometimes that just throw our lives for a loop. And other times they're just little inconveniences and irritations, those kinds of things. They happen all the time, right? So sometimes there's a wide range of these things. So I would say that is, for me, maybe a little bit of a
Makes sense.
thing to think about when we talk about mindfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great time just to have a conversation because we're about halfway through our hour here. I'm happy to, if anybody has something in the book they want to talk about.
I've recently been listening to something called guided meditation, and he's calling his approach direct as opposed to progressive. And he was referring to progressive like we've been taught, focus on the breath, or focus on sounds, or focus on life, individually as we learn to practice.
Mhm.
And he's calling it his approach direct.
Hmm.
And he's not saying it's his original approach. I think he's just changing words. And it's sounding more like Zen because his instructions are just to sit
Mhm.
and allow. The original, he'll say, first start for the breath,
Yes, breath is always at the center of
and
this.
then just whatever happens and observe it
Mhm.
and let it go. I don't know. I've tried to follow him, and I am too intellectualizing it. I've been around this community now for a year and a half, and I'm just getting more frustrated and more confused. The more I read, the more I study. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But it seems like if there was a right way or a better way, there would be one way. There's just more ways. But I didn't know if that terminology, if that's just his. I think
You said direct, is that what you call it?
direct and
Yeah.
progressive.
Progressive. I'm not familiar with the terminology,
Okay,
but
I have never heard it either, so
but I think if I'm understanding it correctly, I mean, some meditation that's taught, you get guided meditation, things like that. I mean, those things can be fine. I think for me though, anything that sort of makes an attempt to control your mind by saying focus on that color or this or that. I mean, I think that they can be helpful. They can be helpful. But I think the idea is to try and to relinquish this idea of controlling the experience.
okay, that's gonna lead me right to my next question. Because, and I don't know which class I don't think I actually attended this class, but the paramitas,
Mhm.
taking them one at a time, considering it in depth for a month or so, seeping myself in the topic, seeing how my heart measures up to the ideal of each transcendent quality, looking at generosity. Like, oh my God, I mean, my mind explodes because that's all thinking.
Yeah.
And I honestly do not know what to do with all this information.
Yeah. Well,
That was the Tibetan class. That was the Tibetan class that Cheryl taught.
I think one thing, I remember one of my Zen teachers said something like, and maybe you'll find this helpful, there's a difference between the finger pointing at the moon and the moon. So all of this stuff you're digesting, this is the finger pointing at the moon. It's not the moon, right? So these things can point in the direction of something, but don't mistake the finger as the moon. Does that make sense?
No, because the moon is just another thing.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm very concrete, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the moon metaphorically, right?
I think what she was trying to say is there are vehicles that practice group uses
Yeah.
in order to help them with their practice, but they're just vehicles.
Yeah.
Like they would deeply dive into generosity and deeply dive into the next 5 paramitas, and then that would be part of their practice. So Tibetan practice has a lot of flair to it, whereas the Zen practice seems to be more concrete, bare bones, minimalist. So Zen practices are generally a great practice to start with because, in my mind at least, it's very much sitting, experiencing, and then maybe discussing or having a lesson. I don't know, I've never been shared with practice, but like the Thursday night group is mostly sitting and then a reading from Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah, similar to.
So there's not a lot of flair.
There's the bowing and the chanting. You can't speak without bowing in.
Right.
That seems pretty,
Well, there are some
Yeah, I
forms.
agree.
There are forms, as we would call them, that are common in Zen practice. Like you say, certain ways of bowing and certain ways of chanting. We do some chanting in the Quantum tradition. But the key about the chanting and the bowing and the meditating is they're not meant to be intellectualized. So it's like the chanting, we're not chanting to think about what we're saying. like to intellectually think, what am I,
Not like being Catholic, we didn't.
well,
we didn't
I grew up
know
Catholic
what
too. Yeah, I grew up Catholic. Like in Catholicism or any form of Christianity or Judaism or whatever, you're conscious of the words you're uttering, right? The prayer or whatever it is, the hymn, or there's a intellectual aspect to it. But in Zen, the chanting has no meaning in an intellectual capacity. Because really what it is it's doing something in unison. So when we chant in Kwanum as a group, we're chanting something, right? Okay. But the idea is it's getting us out of our individual minds to be in the moment and to hear the sound of our voices together and to, again, dislodge the thinking mind and go into the experiential piece of just being there together in a room with our voices all, or bowing together like in Zen, you'll do 108 bows, up, down, up, down, up, down. You're not doing it because you're bowing to a deity or because you want to exercise. Well, I guess you could. But you're bowing because of the motion. It gets you out of your mind. It gets you out of your thinking. You're just bowing. I'm bowing. I'm bowing. Chanting. I'm chanting. 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 You're just doing it as a vehicle of being in the moment. Not because you're trying to intellectualize the experience or analyze it or think about it. You're just doing it. You're just doing it.
Is there an element of that just brings you into your body? So that you're not in your head, but you're in your body?
That, like the bowing is very much that. You're bowing, you're in your body, and you're experiencing your body in that moment. And you're like, oh, my back. Oh, keep going. But you're not intellectualizing that or calling it good or bad. It's just
right.
Oh, my back hurts. Oh, my knee is sore. Okay. Keep bowing. Or maybe I have pain, and then you honor your body and you stop bowing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you don't think, you say, my knee again. You just, okay, my knee hurts. Stop bowing.
Mm-hmm.
Think more about the experience of rather than 108 getting a mile out, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. You don't attach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is what causes suffering, Four Noble Truths, right? We're attaching. When we attach to things, we create suffering in our lives. And so when we attach to our ideas and our thoughts of how things are or should be, right? This automatically creates a polarization of good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't, want, don't want, right? So the idea is to find through the practice of Zen, whether it's through bowing, chanting, whatever, where we drop this polarization and we're just doing it. Or not doing it. I think Suzuki says it in the chapter. He talks about this idea of, I forgot how he phrased it, that not doing something is doing something. It's making a choice, right? So we're always doing. You just do it. Even if you're not doing something, then don't do that to the best of your ability.
Right.
Don't walk.
Right? So if you decide to take the night off from going to the gym because you want to go and eat a good meal, do that then. Don't sit there having a meal, thinking about how you're supposed to be at the gym, kicking yourself, judging yourself. You do what you're doing in the moment. You've made a choice not to go to the gym, but to go have a good meal. You enjoy the good meal. You do that. You do that. Whatever you're doing, you do it with 100%. Zen Master Song San said. Do it with 100%.
Thich Nhat Hanh is a very similar, he has a story about how if you rush through doing the dishes in order to, because you're thinking about getting your cup of tea after getting the dishes done, then you're not going to be able to enjoy doing the dishes, you're not going to be able to enjoy drinking the tea. Because you're elsewhere. You're never focused on what's in front of you, you're never fully engorged in your experience, you never, well I say never, at that point when you're worried about something else far away, or not now, you're drawn off. So just don't be drawn off is the practice that I think mindfulness and meditation helps you facilitate on the cushion, so that when you're not on the cushion, it comes more naturally, it's more obvious when it happens, it builds on itself and it helps promote itself. Because you say, oh, I should sit more so that this happens more because it feels nice when I'm just doing the thing.
Yeah, you're just doing the thing. That's a good way of summarizing it. Yeah.
So in the Theravada world, I mean, students have this problem too. They try to meditate, but their heads are full of thoughts and ideas and feelings about things and all that. And then Buddhism gives them lots more thoughts and ideas and things to do or whatever. And so the meditation teacher might or in this case, I think Ajahn Sumedho just decided, you know, all he was going to think about was anything that came up in his mind, he was just going to say, let it go. And so for a year or two, this was his meditation practice. He sat there and things kept popping up into his mind about this or that, you should do this, or the teacher said that, or 10 years ago this, or whatever, and everything, no matter what it was, he just said, let it go, you know. And so it took him a long time to really figure out how to let things go, you know, because we have and maybe, you know, how is it that our minds are always full of all this junk? Because we can't let it go. We think it's all important. Oh, I really got to figure this out, so I better just let it sit in my mind all day or whatever, you know. But maybe there needs to be a spring cleaning at the beginning of meditation practice. If you're one of these people who's your heads are full of concepts and everything that you hear becomes another concept or whatever, then you just got to practice letting go until you really can sit things down, until the mind really is a little bit emptier. And it sounds very Zen, but I don't know if a Zen person would ever say, you know, just whatever comes up, let it go, or whatever.
Well, early in Zen practice, what we usually teach students who are just starting, because sometimes it's a mantra of some sort is helpful when you're sitting, as you know. So in Quantum, we very often will teach students to begin by inhaling, taking it, you know, that inhale, and to say to themselves, or ask to themselves, what is this? On the inhale, so, what is this? And on the exhale, don't know.
Right. I guess that's probably the Zen answer. Don't know.
So what is this? Don't know. Like that, and that mantra speaks to let it go. It's similar, right? This idea that
your focus is to not try to figure anything out or hold on to your thoughts. Yeah, by saying you don't know, it's like, well, I can't think about it because I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Don't know. Yeah. What is this? Don't know. That's a great one you can try, you know, if you're wanting to start a meditation practice or want to try something new, you know, try that inhale, what is this? And then the exhale is a longer exhale, almost like air seeping out of a balloon and sort of, don't know. Right. What is this? Don't know. And just do that, you know. And don't hold anything. Don't try and figure anything out. That's it. I want to say something because we have about 10 minutes left. There's one aspect of Zen practice that I think is important too. I don't think he talks about it in this chapter, but these are koans or koans. I don't know how familiar you are with these things. These are very common, and I think they're distinctive only to Zen. I don't think Theravada or any other. So in Japanese it's koan, K-O-A-N, but in Korean it's kongan, K-O-N-G-A-N. Same thing. So these are so very pivotal, as I said, it's meditation, chanting, bowing, and then kongan practice. So these are four kind of big branches of a Zen tree, especially a Korean Zen tree. I don't know why I use that metaphor, it's a tree, the tree. When one participates in kongan practice, it's done with a Zen master, someone who is at the highest level of Zen, of a teacher. They're called masters, Zen masters. We have two of them in Kansas at the Kansas Zen Center. So they're really the only ones, like if I wanted to do kongan practice, I would have to go there. Even Lucy, who's a senior Dharma teacher, isn't, I won't say allowed, but isn't supposed to do Kogan practice. But you do one-on-one with the Zen master, and what it basically is you sit across from your Zen master, and the Zen master gives you a question. And I can't really give you a good example, although I'll try and think of one.
I mean, there's the,
That's the one, yeah, what's the sound of one hand clapping, right? That's probably the best, so most accessible one.
Taste your own tongue.
Yes, right. That's not a real koan in our tradition, but it's a good way of capturing the idea, where a Zen master will present this kind of a question to you. You know, what is the sound of one hand clapping? To use your example. And you, as the student, answer. Now, the key here in answering these riddles, if you want to call them that, if we're using our intellectual mind, we're always going to be told we're wrong. So you, as a Zen student, over time, as you do these with the Zen master, you eventually kind of absorb this idea of how do I answer this question in a very visceral, in-the-moment way to demonstrate I can answer it. And that is what koan practice is. And you will have, as I have, I've worked on a koan for years with a Zen master before I got to the answer. And the answer never came through intellectualizing it. Never became because I was especially clever that day and really thought through it. And, let me see here. Let me do this. Okay, I'll try this. It never happens like that. It's usually because something in the moment comes up inside of me, or in the Zen, and you say, boom, whatever that is. And the Zen master goes, you are correct. It's like, it's the wildest thing. But the reason it's part of Zen practice is because it's like trying to short circuit your brain. And it's frustrating as hell. Because your brain is circuited to be rational, logical, to think sequentially, right? But the answers to koans are never any of those things. Never any of those things. So it brings us back again to this idea of our rational mind is super useful in everyday life. We have jobs, we have to go grocery shopping, we have to make lists. Nothing wrong with a rational mind. We need a rational mind. But when it comes to this, our rational mind works against us. We've been over-programmed to be like this. So this short-circuiting exercise of koan practice is an attempt, again, to, remember we talked about your original face, your original mind. The mind before opinions and ideas and thoughts and perspectives and whatnot. It's a way of, again, bringing you back to this moment. Boom, answer. Right? If you hesitate, you're wrong. Right? You've not been told that. You're hesitating, which means you're thinking. Don't think. Answer. Boom. You know, you just literally go, like it's anxiety producing sometimes. Not so much anymore, but it used to be. No, it still should lie. But koan practice, I think, is an important part of Zen as well to recognize. We've got 5 minutes left. I was trying to think, there was one passage I underlined here that I thought, well, there were a couple things I underlined. And then we can last 5 minutes, which is chat, and again, questions. But this is on page 233 if you're interested, but it's in this chapter. Our usual understanding of life is dualistic. You and I, this and that, good and bad. But actually these discriminations are themselves the awareness of the universal existence. You means to be aware of the universe in the form of you. And I, in quotation marks, means to be aware in it in the form of I. You and I are just swinging doors. I love the idea of you and I are just swinging doors.
That means nothing to me.
That's okay.
Huh.
It's okay. Here's what I would say to you. Don't try and figure that out.
Then why read that stuff if I can't figure that out?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Like I know I love that, but I couldn't tell you exactly what he means by that. But there is something that goes beyond the thinking mind that feels right about that. That there's you and there's I, and you and I are always seeing ourselves as separate, when really we're just like swinging doors. I mean, if you want to think about metaphorically what that sort of means, but I wouldn't overthink it. You know, it's literally that, you know, there's nothing that is fixed. This idea of you and I is always shifting, changing. There is nothing, there is no you that's you in your name and me in my name that's really any difference.
That I can understand, a swinging door, a saloon. I think, okay, we get drunk, whatever.
Right, but that's the thing, right, is that this stuff is, it is having an effect on the conscious mind, the thinking mind, but it's also sort of training our intuition in a way. So there's something that Buddhism wants us to see, but it can't point at it directly, right? So and especially with Zen, right, it sort of has to trick you into seeing it.
It's the finger pointing at the moon.
Right.
That line is it's not the moon. It's the finger pointing at the moon.
Right.
So what we very often, we want to make these things that we're learning in here, the moon, like that is Buddhism. It's not. It's just the finger that's pointing towards it. It's just the finger that's pointing towards it. So I think this is where we get tangled up with some of this stuff, is we try to equate all of this as being Buddhism or Zen.
But you're right, but none of it is.
None of it is.
None of this is actually Buddhism.
Right.
Buddhism is something you know for yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It is not anything anyone's ever going to be able to do. This is the frustrating thing.
It's like if you say, okay, think of the color green. Everybody in the room, think of the color green. Nobody's thinking of the exact same color green.
Sure.
Everybody has their own idea of what their green is. I can't tell you what my green is because I can't explain green in words, right? Like not enough to get everybody on the same page. It's a personal experience that you arrive at eventually.
It's even worse, because Buddhism says, think of the color Formby.
Yeah. Or sign language, like,
That's not a Pantone color.
There's a book by Steve Hagen, is it Buddhism, Plain and Simple? He's a Zen master, he wrote a book on basic Zen. I mean, it's very basic, but it's a great book. It's by Steve Hagen.
Steve Hagen, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Do you know what's the name of the book?
I thought it was Buddhism, Plain and Simple,
Okay.
but I might be wrong on that. But I recently read it, and I reread it again, and it's just very good.
Yeah.
It explains the basics. I mean, and that's what made me think it's very concrete, the Zen practice. I'm trying to understand all the different practices.
Yeah, I could maybe next, because I'm with you guys next week too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I can bring some recommendations of some books. Another good one too, that's more broadly Buddhism. Do you know the book, Why Buddhism is True?
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Wright. Robert Wright.
Robert Wright, yes.
That's a book I can get into.
Seminal text.
I'm reading it for a second time.
It's a good book. I don't know why I thought about it in this
Because
context.
it's a good book.
It's a good book, yeah.
I'm
I
reading
think
it for
for
a second
someone maybe
time.
who's a thinker, like I am a thinker too. So I think for someone who thinks a lot, who wants to understand, and that can be an especially
He's using
helpful.
some science, he's using
Yes.
MRIs, some studies, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, I can get that.
Right.
I know what a finger is.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
So what is it next week? I didn't even.
Whatever you
Whatever you
want.
want to talk about. It's just
Oh, really? Oh, good. Well, maybe next week, what do you think would you guys want to do some
Yes.
practice?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
actually get the cushions out?
Absolutely.
Like we can do a little bit of talk too.
Yeah,
Have like maybe for half an hour we can do discussion, but then spend the second half of the hour just sit. Or maybe leave, or vice versa. Oh, yeah. we can do that too.
I would love to
Yeah.
learn more about the difference
Because
between
I'll have
Zen
questions
and
afterwards.
Theravada and the Tibetan. You know, because there's such big differences in Theravada and Tibetan, but I don't know much about Zen and the Theravada versus Tibetan. You know, the different tenets and the schools of thought and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I won't, you're about the Theravada guy, I won't be able to give you, like, well, Zen thinks this and Theravada thinks that.
Oh, just so what Zen thinks, that'd be great.
But the what?
But what Zen thinks.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, Zen doesn't think, that's the whole point. I mean, we have, like, there are the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, I mean, that is still somewhat discussed in Zen, but it really is not important. Like, you know, we have our precepts, we have, one second, I know it's time to go, but let me just pull this out real quick.
Secret.
The 4 great vows, yeah. Sentient beings are numberless, we vow to save them all. Delusions are endless, we vow to cut through them all. The teachings are, you guys probably know
Gates of
this.
truth are infinite.
The
Yeah.
teachings are infinite, we vow to.
Bodhisattva vow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bodhisattva.
Sign up to it, so you get to introduce.
Yeah, this is pretty much like if you go to a Zen retreat, just particularly a Kuan Yin Zen retreat, we do some chanting, we have a Heart Sutra. There are some other chants that are part of a Kuan Yin Zen tradition, and then 4 great vows. But there isn't any other reciting, talking about texts or sutras or paramitas or any of that. It's just not important to Zen. Right?
No homework.
Sorry, no homework.
Your homework is to solve your koan.
That's right.
Yeah, what does the sound important?
Well, I'd hoped that this was going to be helpful to me, and it was.
Sure.
Because Theravada makes sense to me. It's we're making lists, we're adding things up, we're doing algebra,
Yeah.
and it's fine. It's fine that after all that algebra, the answer is you have to figure it out for yourself. That's fine. Or it can be figured out. That's fine.
Yeah.
But we had all this algebra to get me up to the point where I had to jump off the cliff. But I mean, we got to walk up to it kind of slowly, and that was very comfortable to me. And anytime I've read about Zen, it's like they just whack me with a stick. All they do is just whack me with a stick and tell me to jump off the
Literally,
cliff.
yes.
And so I had hoped that you could and what you've done, I think, is presented that with a little compassion, just a little bit. So thank you.
Yeah, it's funny you said whack with a stick. When you're in a Zen retreat and you're sitting for hours upon day, there's this forum where they come up to you and you're sitting, and you've been sitting for half an hour, maybe an hour, whatever it is, and it's a big stick. And they come up to you, and it's a very specific form. You have to bow, and you go like this, and the Zen master or the teacher takes the stick and goes, whack!
I am now here.
Hits you on the back.
It's hilarious.
They would do this going back 100,000 years because monks would fall asleep in the temple.
Yeah.
So to keep the monks awake, they would literally have a stick and they would whack you with a stick. And then the monks would go, oh.
That's the experience to last you for the next 30 minutes
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Just use that.
Yeah.
So you do get whacked.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been fun.
Thank
So I'll see you guys next week. And yes, we'll do the 30 minutes, or we may not do a full 30 minutes of, how many guys have done some meditation? But not everybody, or most of you, okay. Well, maybe we'll just do like 20, or because it may be a little uncomfortable to try and sit for 30 minutes still. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but we'll, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll definitely do something.
Just bring the stick.
I'll be don't really love me.
It'll be
Or the clap.
an authentic experience.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Enjoy
That was
it.
great.